So I first went to New Orleans in 2016, around the time my version of Vischer's London went up at the Guildhall Art Gallery. But this was a bigger undertaking than London for several reasons. For one, it's many, many pictures, and it's in two parts. So you've got a panoramic view of the city of New Orleans viewed from somewhere on the river, and also a visual pageant highlighting events and some of the themes that make New Orleans such a special and different place. And this second part consists of more than 170 elements, 170 little vignettes, separate pictures that make up our jigsaw of New Orleans history. And behind each one of these there's a story. So this one is about Napoleon, who more than doubled the size of the United States when he sold the Louisiana Territory, as it was, to the Americans in 1803. Despite this, he remained a hero to the French living in New Orleans, and there's a story that the mayor of New Orleans plotted to rescue him from his jail on St. Helena and to set him up in a grand house in the city. And this one is about Banana Sam, a businessman. He traded bananas and other fruit, set up a mighty fruit trading empire, and along the way orchestrated military coups in Central and South America to further his business ends. But there's more to this, because you can actually read all these stories. So this goes much further than the London project because it's an interactive thing. You can access on your computer or your mobile phone these stories. You click on the picture or a part of the picture and up comes the relevant story. And like the London project, it was a big commitment over a long period, 2 years. That was actually doing the work. It took longer to actually conceive and plan. We identified 5 landmarks in the story around which the rest of the history could be built. Landmark 1 is the founding era, with the arrival of the Europeans and the first slaves in the early 18th century. Almost 100 years later, we have the Battle of New Orleans, where a ragbag army of Americans humiliated the British and cemented United States pride, American pride, in the growing conglomerate that we now know as the USA. Then there was yellow fever, claiming thousands of lives and threatening the future of the city throughout the 1800s. Another seismic event was the Civil War in the 1860s, the end of slavery and all the consequences of that. And fast forward to 2005 and Hurricane Katrina, which devastated communities and business. It all came together with the help of quite a few people. My brother Simon, mainly, whose talents lie in the web and internet field. He created the interactive platform. But we had great support, of course, from the Historic New Orleans Collection, which is the guardian of all things historic in that part of the world. And we enlisted a New Orleans-based historian, Sarah Borealis, to help us understand and filter the multitude of stories. We had great fun with it. Aside from the landmarks, we tried to tell the story of music. From the city's earliest days, you're starting with African slave music in Congo Square, and the story of Louis Armstrong, who was mentored by a notorious drummer, Black Benny, who had a lot of trouble with his wife. That's the one with the knife. To the start of the world-famous Jazz Fest in 1970. And just as important as music, of course, is parading and Mardi Gras, which are essential to New Orleans. And there are endless quirky stories and characters to choose from. You've got the voodoo queen Marie Laveau with her signature python, and Baroness Pontelba, who designed the Pontelba buildings in Jackson Square, but only after her mad father-in-law had tried to kill her. Josephine Icebox, the frosty hooker. Her brothel keeper promised $10 to any man who could warm her up. And these are the bull and bear fights. You bring your dog to fight the bear and you get into the show for nothing. And finally, a modern day icon, Ellen DeGeneres. The picture illustrates a line from her lecture to the students of Tulane University. She says, "Don't flash your boobs, flash your brains."